in LA this week.
This is the 6th event I've been to this week where we're seeing healthcare workers vaccinated. We have to step up and lead, all of us.
This is going to be providing critical housing for seniors who are currently homeless, seniors with chronic health conditions. So it's incredibly important. They're living terrible lives in the streets, especially during this pandemic.
We're accepting donations of winter gear, so primarily tents, blankets, jackets. It does get into the 30s and 40s, and so we're just really looking for anything that could potentially save a life by keeping someone warm.
Hello, everyone. I am Natalia Bilbao. Here's what's happening in LA this week. A great push for the COVID-19 vaccine has begun, not in obtaining it, but in getting it out to the communities and health workers that need it most. Mayor Eric Garcetti is leading the charge along with members of the City Council, the Board of Supervisors, and neighborhood clinics to try and stop this deadly virus in its tracks.
The work that we are doing here is life-saving. This is the 6th event I've been to this week where we're seeing healthcare workers vaccinated.
Today we're vaccinating 15 healthcare workers as part of our effort to educate the community about the safety of the vaccine. The health disparities that have plagued South LA for generations need to be engaged.
The mistrust is understandable, given the history that's been talked about from Tuskegee or Henrietta Lacks's cells, but now we have to step up and lead, all of us. Be the leaders to protect our families, authorized by the best public health professionals in America.
Coming from this community, there's been times where, you can't trust people. But, in this case, I feel like it's the best thing to do.
St. John's has a rich history in LA, 56, 57-year-old organization that was born out of the Watts Uprising. A community institution that they trust, that they have long history with, is stepping up to say, the vaccine is safe. We want to make sure our healthcare providers and all of our essential workers have access, and you can come get it right here in your own community-based health clinic.
Safe, easy, and it's free. And so we're encouraging neighbors to take advantage of that.
We were able to fight to get the vaccine for South LA, who've been left out so many times, and we're urging the community to take the vaccine so that we can end the pandemic in South LA.
The statistics show that only 40% of African Americans have indicated that they will take the COVID-19 vaccine. Given that we don't get to herd immunity in this country until 85% of people are vaccinated, we are going to have a real problem if we cannot address the issue of hesitancy amongst people of color. And this is the beginning of sending a message that people in South Los Angeles, that we care about you, that your health is important, that you're important.
While we're looking at Washington, let us tell all of our leaders there, we need more vaccines. We need more vaccines. We need more vaccines.
And if you think that event was filled with heavy hitters, well, Mayor Garcetti was just getting warmed up. His next stop, Pacoima in Council District 7. He was joined by Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez to introduce M-Pods to the Northeast San Fernando Valley.
Today we're here at Richie Valens opening up our first pod for distributing vaccinations to our frontline healthcare workers here in Pacoima. Pacoima has been the epicenter of where we've seen the largest spikes in COVID-19 confirmed cases. And so to make sure that we start by taking care of the people that have been taking care of us is a priority. And I'm so grateful for the collaboration that we've had with the county, the mayor, and the important part of making sure that we start in the communities that have been hardest hit by COVID.
What we learned from our testing is you can't wait for people to come to you. You've got to go to them. And here in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and 3 other sites, we've seen communities hugely and disproportionately impacted by this coronavirus. By setting this up in the community, it's convenient, it's equitable, it's safe, and it's fast, and it's free. So this is what we want for our entire vaccine distribution.
This is one of our M-Pod locations. M-Pod stands for Medical Points of Distribution. We've been partnering with the Department of Public Health as well as the Mayor's Office and city partners in developing plans to open these medical points of distribution.
As we continue to make sure that we're deploying the resources necessary to help protect families, it's important that everyone remain vigilant in honoring the calls to stay safer at home, to wear the mask, and to make all the proper precautions to help stop the spread of COVID-19.
sitios de vacunación son solo para los trabajadores de salud. En este momento estamos priorizando a las personas más expuestas a este virus, pero nosotros traeremos más vacunas en estas próximas semanas a otros sectores y personas en nuestra ciudad.
If it seems like Mayor Garcetti is busy these days, it's because he is, pushing COVID recovery efforts forward while keeping a watchful eye on the homeless crisis. We'll have that story coming up shortly. While the changes and demands on healthcare workers have been pretty obvious during the pandemic, law enforcement has had to make similar adjustments to its public service routines. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva held a press conference to discuss the challenges his department faced in 2020.
As we enter the new year, we do it with hope and determination. Unfortunately, we are in the midst of a very difficult time as we battle this latest surge of the COVID. During the pandemic, the LASD has continued our release efforts to scale down on the jail population as much as possible. We initially depopulated approximately 5,000 inmates and brought our daily jail population down to just under 12,000 inmates at the low point. As of today, there are 79 COVID-positive inmates in the LA County jails. And I should point out right now that that number is trending down. So we're in a positive trend within the jail system, and the jail still remains safer than actually outside of the jail system right now. I've made it clear we will seek out and take law enforcement action against all super spread events occurring anywhere within Los Angeles County. Now, during the month of December, we created a super spreader task force, and with the unanimous support of the Board of Supervisors, we repurposed our sheriff's response team to assist with enforcement of county public health orders. We went to large pre-planned underground events which drew large crowds of people who were not socially distancing or wearing masks and had no remorse about possibly infecting the rest of the public due to their carelessness. This does not mean the task force is going to your homes or breaking up your backyard barbecues or family get-togethers. That never happened. Over the holidays, the super spreader task force arrested 426 individuals, which included mostly adults and a few juveniles. The goals of these enforcement actions is to reduce the spread of COVID-19 and the risk to our vulnerable populations. 135 fueron vacunados, tenemos 26 paramédicos están administrando la vacuna y tenemos un plan para, en términos de 2 meses, completar las vacunas de los 18,000 empleados. And with that, I care and I am committed, as I strongly believe that all of you working together will make a difference in the battle against COVID-19. Thank you again, and I want to wish everyone a happy and a safe New Year.
It is the signature goal of Mayor Eric Garcetti to fight and annihilate homelessness in Los Angeles. And even a pandemic has not been able to shake his resolve. Mayor Garcetti and Council Member Marquise Harris Dawson were on hand for the groundbreaking of a new shelter earmarked for housing chronically homeless seniors. Take a look.
This is going to be providing critical housing for seniors who are currently homeless, seniors with chronic health conditions. So it's incredibly important. They're living terrible lives in the streets, especially during this pandemic.
One of the tragedies of homelessness is older seniors are actually beginning to represent a bigger share of who's on the streets.
Each one of the seniors in here is a real person with a real story and hopefully a real turnaround. And to me, it's worth every minute of time we put into it.
There is no good time to be homeless, but when you are a senior who is sick, there's nothing worse that you can imagine. We have people who have been treated for cancer while they've been on the streets, people who've had surgeries and been released right back to the sidewalks they lived on. And when you see them move in and you see what happens to them within 48 hours of having a door that they can close, a shower that they can take, a lock, a bed, you don't recognize them. The transformations are extraordinary, and I'm so excited that we're on our way.
We have more affordable housing for folks that are unhoused coming online just in the last 3 years than we've had in the last 30 years. And the next few years ahead are going to dwarf what we've done in the last 2.
And I absolutely believe as human beings in this community, we have a right to housing. And so we try to make that a reality.
We need to make sure this is a priority in an America where we don't let people go hungry. We don't let them, go without medical care. We should make sure they don't go without housing as well. problem as big as homelessness doesn't get solved overnight, but it does get solved one project at a time.
This is the moral call of our day. This is how we're going to be judged in history, is what do we do about homelessness? And so when my number comes up, I want to be able to make sure we say, I and the people of the 8th District stepped up.
I want to be an old man living here, telling my grandkids, you know, this is the little role that your grandfather played in making sure this city was better for you and for your generation. And to me, that's what life's all about.
In this week's edition of Angelinos Give Back, we meet the small grassroots organization dedicated to bringing water to the folks on Skid Row. Water Drop LA rarely misses a Sunday, filled with collecting donations and providing support for the unhoused population in South LA.
So Water Drop LA is a mutual aid group. The majority of our work is done on Skid Row. We go out every Sunday for about 2.5 hours and bring 2,000 gallons of water with us along with all this. And so we go to every single block in Skid Row with our volunteers and have them hand these items directly to folks. We have relationships with these people. We know them, we recognize them. We try to bring items that are specific to their needs. And so every time we see them on Sundays, it's just kind of like seeing a friend more than anything. We accept donations every single Saturday at St. Mark's Lutheran Church on Vermont Ave from 1 to 4 p.m. So we're accepting donations of winter gear, so primarily tents, blankets, jackets, things that can really help to battle hypothermia throughout the colder months. It does get into the 30s and 40s, and so we're just really looking for anything that could potentially save a life by keeping someone warm. And aside from that, you can contact us via social media platforms at Waterdrop LA. We're responsive to DMs, and so any questions that folks have, they can shoot them our way.
The Department of Sanitation extends its blanket drive. The Los Angeles 2021 State of the Port address goes virtual, and city council members reflect on the passing of one of their own. These stories up next on City Beat.
The LA Department of Sanitation and Environment wants to remind residents that donations are still needed to aid our city's unsheltered population. And so the annual Spread the Warmth Blanket Drive has been extended into 2021. The public can donate new and gently used blankets and sleeping bags at one of LA Sand's 6 district yards. The drive is part of their CARE program, which provides mobile hygiene units, tent exchanges, clothing, and hygiene kits in partnership with the LA Fire Department. For more information, contact the LA Sand Customer Care Center at 1-800-773-2489 or go to lacitysand.org. Gene Soroka, Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles, delivered the 2021 State of the Port this week in a ceremony that was held virtually. Mr. Soroka discussed how the nation's largest seaport navigated the events of 2020 and his perspectives on how the trans-Pacific supply chain can impact U.S. economic resurgence in 2021. Mr. Soroka also discussed various strides in port management technology. Mr. Los Angeles, former council member Tom LaBonge has died. A former representative of Council District 4, LaBonge was known as a tireless ambassador of cheer for the city of Los Angeles. During his time in the city council, he was chairman of the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committees. Mr. LaBonge was 67.
Mark Ridley Thomas has wasted no time getting to work for District 10. The council member is getting out the word that all Angelinos are invited to attend and engage during the 2021 Empowerment Congress. Take a look.
The Empowerment Congress is a 29-year experiment in participatory democracy and reciprocal accountability, in the notion of how neighborhoods, communities, leaders can be involved together to create a better environment for the people in the city of Los Angeles. It is an effort to demystify government, that is to make sure that neighborhood associations, block clubs, and neighborhood councils now can access the government and their elected officials in a way that speaks to the language of accountability and collaboration. Neighbors, community leaders, and the like wanted to know more about an agenda for change and the improvement of the quality of life. COVID-19 has challenged the Empowerment Congress to step up their game in terms of the kind of engagement we do. Now it's virtual, but it has been nonstop. This year's summit will look a bit different because it will be virtual, but it has afforded us an opportunity to penetrate into environments that we might not have otherwise considered. It teaches tools to learn how to work in communities, to work across communities. It accents a diversity of opinion, and it authenticates advocacy. And that's what the Empowerment Congress is about.
The LA Fire Department wants to remind you that brush fire preparedness and prevention are concerns year-round. To help you remember best practices before and during an emergency, just think, ready, set, go.
Ready, Set, Go is a system or program that's designed to help folks be safe when brush fire is approaching their home. The three-step program starts with ready, meaning you harden your home and prepare it for an oncoming fire. So hardening your home means putting up some vent blocks or covering up your vents so that ember casts can't get in there. Also removing vegetation by cleaning up your yard, not storing any logs or any type of burnable material near your home. Set means preparing yourself to be ready to go when that order is announced by media, meaning having all your essentials with you prepared to go in a kit. If you visit our website, it gives you some suggestions on what you should have in your kit, but every kit is individual to a family. And finally, the last step in the go is evacuate when the order is given. Don't wait to see the fire at your doorstep. When the fire is already moving through a neighborhood, it's not the moment to try to evacuate. That's the moment to hunker down in place and shelter in place and let the fire front pass before trying to evacuate. El programa Marca Listos Vamos es un programa que ayuda a la comunidad a estar preparado para desastre. Queremos que tomes las precauciones necesarias para preparar el hogar y que estés listo para evacuar antes de que ocurra un desastre.
During this pandemic, Angelenos have encountered lots of new miscellaneous needs. Information on safer at home guidelines and protection protocols, locations of testing and grocery giveaways, and more. And the job of helping LA residents with miscellaneous needs, old and new, belongs to the 311 call center. Everything you never knew you could get done goes through the 311 call center. Watch this next segment and you'll see what I mean.
The 311 call center has been with the city of Los Angeles since 2002. So we've been in operation for about 18 years. And what we do is we provide a single point of contact for non-emergency city and government related services with issues like potholes, sidewalks, street lights don't work, they didn't pick up the trash today. In 2013, we first introduced the mobile application, which allows people to submit requests via the mobile app. 2020 has been some year for everybody I know. We have been doing a lot of additional work as far as providing information about COVID-19. A big part of what we're doing these days is helping people who don't have internet access to make appointments at the various testing sites so that they can get tested. We're helping people with information about programs that are available to assist them, and as well as helping them to understand the guidelines and restrictions that are changing day to day as the pandemic continues. We are here to help. We are a simple, easy to use service where you can remember just one simple 3-digit number as a starting point for anything that you need or want from the city, and we can help direct you.
In our featured story this week, Maria Hall-Brown sits down with Bill Jones from the Department of Recreation and Parks. Mr. Jones discusses how Angelenos voted for investment into the city's parks and how those funds are being put to great use. Check this out.
According to the National Recreation and Park Association, several studies have confirmed that separation from nature is detrimental to humans' well-being and health. Well, fortunately, Los Angeles is doing something about that. I'm delighted to be joined today by Bill Jones, the Chief Management Analyst for the Department of Recreation and Parks. So nice to have you.
Thank you, Maria. It's nice to be here.
Thanks. All right, so LA has Measure A, which is actually the Safe, Clean Neighborhood Parks and Beaches measure. So what does that mean? What's going on?
So in 2016, a ballot measure was put forth to the voters of Los Angeles County, and that was to assess commercial and real estate property so that we could then raise funds to sustain our parks throughout the entire LA County.
Now, there was actually a Proposition A that was for Parks and Rec, but that expired. But the nice thing about Measure A is Measure A will not expire.
That is correct. Proposition A was a 25-year bond fund, and Measure A is a tax assessment into perpetuity. So these are funds that LA can count on for years and years to come to sustain and maintain our parks.
Los Angeles needed more opportunities for people to get outside and to play and to recreate, and how good that is for you. But you have an inside perspective. How good are parks for just people and humans and communities at large?
Oh gosh, that is so important. Is you know, we have come to understand through multiple studies that parks are incredibly important. And again, I go back to our strategic plan that we are focusing on making certain that we have world-class parks in Los Angeles. The health and benefits that come from a park, whether it's just walking around the park, being able for a child to play and learn on some of the play equipment, to the recreational programming that our young children and our teens are involved in. And, you know, we're seeing a tremendous benefit. One of the things that Rec and Parks is doing right now is using data. We're collecting data on all of these activities, and we're showing that these activities and the health and the well-being of these communities are actually rising because these kids have a place to play. Parks are so important.
I think also with the transition that our world has taken, even when there will be an answer to this pandemic, and even when the issues of social distance and safety protocols are no longer priority in our world, I think everyone has learned, first of all, that there's a different way of working, there's a different way of going to school, but there's also a different way of living. And everybody, I believe, you can see in neighborhoods, people walking, people wanting to go out. Your parks are going to be packed.
They are, and we're excited about that. And it's one reason, you know, we wish there was more funding. We wish that we could just improve all of our parks and buy land and do things, but you're absolutely correct. We're looking forward to that day when kids are back at our rec centers and involved in the program activities.
Well, it was great chatting with you. We'll see you again soon. And I really am excited about all of these parks. Let's get out and play.
Thank you.
Take part in the Bro to Go Portraiture Workshop. Explore the California African American Museum on YouTube, or take in a virtual experience with Borderline. All this up next on Virtual Things to Do.
The Dream Team of the Los Angeles Public Library and the Broad Museum invite you to their first Bro to Go event of 2021. Designed to bring a hands-on art experience during the time of Safer at Home, this month's family event will be learning about portraiture. Share a story, learn about art, and make a project together. Bro to Go programs are designed for children ages 5 to 11 years old. To get in on the virtual fun, send an email to children@lapl.org. Did you know that you can access all of California African American Museum's videos on CAAM's YouTube channel? From artist interviews to exhibition previews and guest profiles, it's all there for free. There are short videos about their exhibitions and public programs, plus full recordings of many of their archived Zoom programs, including a free yoga class and a talk with Black Lives Matter co-founder Alicia Garza. New videos are added frequently, so stop by the California African American Museum by way of their YouTube channel. You'll be surprised at what you've been missing. The Angels Gate Cultural Center in San Pedro invites you to their virtual exhibit entitled Borderline. Borderline explores the notion of the border, both as a metaphor for our lived experience and as a tool to undermine the certainty of the territories it defines. The exhibit aims to explore themes like the breakdown of conventional barriers and explore new territories through an array of art mediums, including sculpture, painting, and more. Don't miss Borderline, an interactive, self-guided virtual tour. The exhibition will be released on Friday, January 22nd through March 2021. To take in this virtual exhibit, visit at angelsgateart.org. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao. From all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.